Braxton stepped closer, the space between them shrinking as he lowered his voice, each word deliberate. I want to be the person you trust, Raelynn, but you're hiding something. What are you afraid of? The question hung in the air, heavy and charged. She hesitated, and for a fleeting moment, their eyes locked. The world spun away, leaving just the two of them, the curator and the man steeped in untold truths. The crackle of energy filled the silence, louder than the distant sound of laughter from the beach party below, where friends mingled and music floated like a light caress. I'm not hiding anything from you, she said, the words brushing past her lips, but she could feel the weight of the lie clinging to her. Her deep-seated fear of judgment, of exposure, churned within her as she grappled with the implications of their connection. Braxton surveyed her, his brow furrowing slightly. Even if you keep me in the dark, I'll find a way to break through. You know that, right? A bold, wild laugh escaped her, surprised by the emotions swell in her chest. So, you're the hero now? Ready to save me from my own shadows? He tilted his head, a playful grin softening the tension. I say that only if you'll let me. But don't mistake me for a knight, Raelynn. I'm more of a strategist. I maneuver the pieces on the board. She took a step back, the laughter fading as an unexpected tide of vulnerability washed over her. And what makes you think this is a game? Braxton's expression shifted, the playful light in his eyes giving way to something deeper. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair away from her face, the gentle contact sending shivers along her skin. Because you're more than you let on. Beneath the ambition, there's a woman who desires to be seen. You need to trust that I can handle it. Raylan's breath caught as he leaned closer, the distinct scent of cedar and ocean air enveloping her senses. Every second stretched, her body inching toward him despite the war waging inside her. The tension was a palpable thing, thick like a storm cloud, just waiting for the first spark. I do want to trust you, she admitted softly, her eyes flitting to his lips, yearning mingled with fear, swirling around the edges of her consciousness. At that moment, his gaze hardened, sincerity brightening the depths of his eyes. Then let me in, Raelynn, just once. In an electric heartbeat, she tilted her head slightly, yearning overtaking hesitation. The world receded, leaving just the two of them. Braxton's lips brushed against hers in a tentative yet charged kiss, an exploration of the uncharted territory of their relationship. It was soft and deep, a promise woven in passion, the ocean waves crashing in a symphony around them. Raelynn melted against him, surrendering to the collision of their worlds, feeling the tapestry of their lives intertwining with every heartbeat. As their kiss deepened, the sun dipped beneath the horizon, drawing the curtain on the day, and the dawn of something altogether new loomed ahead, heavy with promise, yet fraught with the complexities of their pasts. A cool breeze tangled through their entwined bodies, whispering secrets known only to the night's embrace. Whatever it is, I'm here, Braxton murmured against her temple as they parted slightly, breaths mingling, hearts racing. We'll face it together. Scene 95. Rebuilding castles. Inside the sprawling gallery of their exclusive resort on the island, a lazy afternoon sun filtered through the high arched windows, illuminating the delicate dust motes dancing in the air. Raelynn Barrett stood before a blank canvas, her fingers twitching with both anticipation and trepidation. The sound of her brush against the palette was the only thing punctuating the silence, a silence that stretched like an unwelcome chasm between her and Braxton Vale, who was now arranging a selection of vibrant, abstract pieces on nearby easels. So which one do you think? Braxton said, his voice breaking through the stillness as he picked up a piece splashed with chaotic splatters of color. Does this scream emerging talent or desperate cry for help? Raelynn shot him a glare, her smile barely containing the tension thrumming between them. Maybe it's both. Can't we just appreciate the art without turning this into a critique session? Art, my dear, is a critique session. He returned her look with teasing defiance, the corners of his mouth curling playfully. Yet beneath this banter lay an underlying strained tense. Moments shared in silence echoed like unspoken words. She turned away, crossing her arms as she faced the blank canvas that loomed before her, a representation of her internal conflict. You know, for someone who claims to be strategic, you sure do have a way of pushing every button I have. Braxton chuckled softly, his eyes searching hers. I'm not pushing buttons, Raelynn. I'm just trying to coax you out of your shell. What good is this collaboration if we're not being honest? Honest? She echoed, raising an eyebrow. Is that what we're calling it now? Because I feel like honesty is something we've neglected. The air tensed further. He approached her, stepping into her personal space, grounding the moment. Are you really going to pretend it doesn't bother you? The idea that everyone else knows about your past while you still haven't shared it with me? A tremor of vulnerability flickered in Raylan's chest. She turned abruptly, eyes narrowing as the sunlight outlined her profile, creating a halo effect. Maybe my past is none of your business. Maybe I'm perfectly capable of moving forward without dragging every secret into the open. Braxton's expression hardened, then softened again. But that's just it, isn't it? You can't rebuild the future on a foundation of fear. Even a castle made of sand will eventually wash away. Their eyes locked, a tempest of unspoken truth swirling between them. Raelynn couldn't deny the truth in his words. Still, the jagged edges of her past gnawed at her determination. Okay, let's say you're right, she challenged. What then? You expect me to just throw it all out there like it's nothing? It's not nothing if it's holding you back, he insisted, hands gesturing passionately yet tenderly in the air. We're partners in this. We're creating something together, and it starts with trust. A small laugh bubbled up from her, unintentional but a release nonetheless. Trust? That's rich coming from someone harboring secrets of his own. He paused, eyes narrowing, yet glimmering with admiration. Point taken, but I'm willing to share mine if you share yours. The challenge hung unacknowledged between them, but the weight of it felt oddly liberating amidst the chaos of emotions. Raelynn huffed, the tension oscillating from anger to affection. Fine, I'll tell you my greatest flaw if you promise to share yours. Braxton leaned in closer, a playful glimmer igniting in his gaze. How about we make it a race? I'll race you to the truth. Ready? Race? You mean, like who cries first? She smirked, folding her arms defiantly. Yes, exactly. Winner gets to decide which exhibition piece goes up front, he declared. Mock seriousness, giving way to a careless laugh, their shared joy slicing through the heaviness like sunlight breaking through clouds. All right, it's on. Raelynn snorted, grinning despite herself. Something about this confrontation felt refreshing, even exhilarating. But I swear, if you go easy on me, I will throw painter's tape at your head. Quite a threat, he replied, amusement dancing in his rich voice. As they began to engage in their playful challenge, weaving the fabric of shared history and shared laughter, a sense of camaraderie and something more tugged at the edge of their relationship. In that chaotic gallery amidst canvases and easels, they confronted not just art, but the very foundation they were building together. Ready? 1, 2, he began, and they both laughed heartily, readying themselves for this unexpected plunge into the depths of their souls. Fine. My name is Raelynn Barrett, and I... She paused, each word a brushstroke, waiting to fill the canvas of their future. Scene 96. Artistic freedom. The air on the private island was thick with humidity, a swirling mix of salt and jasmine that painted the landscape with the brilliance of a tropical sun. The art gallery, a sleek structure of glass and tempered steel, stood as a testament to creativity, inviting the gaze of anyone fortunate enough to walk the manicured paths of its surroundings. Raelynn Barrett's heart raced as she stepped inside, the scent of linseed oil and fresh paint wrapping around her like a lover's embrace. Today was the unveiling of her latest collection, the one that represented not just her vision, but a rebirth of sorts, a celebration of both light and shadow. As she prepared for the opening, her thoughts swirled like the tide outside, flickering between exhilaration and the heavy reminder of the past that loomed like a dark cloud. Outside, the ocean roared, but within these walls of white and oak, tranquility reigned. The sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting golden beams that danced along the polished floor. Isn't it breathtaking? An enthusiastic voice cut through her reverie. It was Charlotte, her longtime friend and fellow curator, with a dress that fluttered like petals in the breeze. Your vision is so vibrant, Raelynn. You've captured the essence of freedom. Thank you, Raelynn replied, a smile softening her features as she adjusted a canvas. It held the hues of a sunset, blood orange coursing into soothing indigo. I just, I wanted to reflect what we've been through, what we're moving toward. Change, darling. It's intoxicating. And speaking of which, Charlotte leaned in closer, lowering her voice conspiratorially. Has Braxton seen this yet? I wouldn't want him to miss the magic. At the mention of Braxton, Raylan's pulse quickened, a blend of anticipation and anxiety tightening in her chest. Their relationship had shifted under the weight of its own gravity, wildly romantic, yet precariously balanced on the edge of unspoken truths. She sensed new tensions rising as outsiders scrutinized them with hungry eyes, yet a thrill buzzed in her veins at the thought of him witnessing this symbolic evolution. Before she could respond, a shout startled them from the entrance. Raelynn, did you say something about artistic freedom, or are we all just free tonight? It was Marcus, the gallery's witty and playful co-director, as he swaggered in, flanked by a group of artists chattering amongst themselves. A careless smile stretched across his face, but Raelynn could see the glimmer of mischief dancing in his eyes. Must you always make an entrance like that? Raelynn laughed, returning his playful energy. Only for you, my dear. Tonight we toast to revolution, he declared dramatically, raising a glass like a knight brandishing a sword. Come on, all work and no play makes for dull art. It was just the kind of buoyancy Raelynn needed, a reminder that while the stakes felt incredibly high, art was also about joy. The crowd began to thicken, voices harmonizing into an eager buzz as friends and acquaintances trickled in, filling the space with excited anticipation. Raylan's gaze darted to the entrance again, her heart dropping slightly when Braxton stepped inside. He was striking as ever, exuding an aura of magnetic charm paired with a seriousness that set him apart from the light-hearted crowd. Their eyes locked, and for a fleeting second, the world hushed. The chaos around them faded as unspoken words hung in the spaces between them. "Would you care to join me?" he asked, motioning to a secluded corner where her latest piece, a bold exploration of freedom, stood waiting for its audience. The way he said care melted her resolve. How he managed to command respect and tender nostalgia simultaneously was something she couldn't decipher. "Now you're just being presumptuous," Raelynn teased, unable to hide the mischief in her voice. He raised an eyebrow, a knowing smile curling on his lips. "Oh, I know you far better than that, Raelynn. You'd never turn down a chance to discuss your brilliance with me." As the crowd moved like a living sea around them, each wave filled with laughter and chatter, Raelynn felt the weight of their connection pull her closer to him. Their conversation began, both playful and intense, as they delved into the meanings behind her art, layers peeling away like the paint on a canvas. With each word exchanged, the tension built. A thrill coursed through the air, electric and charged, holding them both captive. Braxton stepped closer, brushing his fingers against her arm. The world around them faded, colors softened, sounds dulled, until it was just the two of them. His gaze was intense, searching, unveiling pieces of her that she had carefully guarded. "You're transforming, Raelynn. It's striking to witness." "Maybe I'm just overcoming my fears," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it felt as if the statement carried the weight of their intertwined destinies. There was a moment, then time stretched as he leaned in even closer, perhaps to bridge the gap they had both danced around for too long. She could feel the warmth radiating from him, and before she knew it, his lips brushed against hers, soft and tentative, a question and an answer all at once. As the kiss deepened, the tension in the room flickered. It became a cocoon around them, enveloping their fears, their histories, their hopes. Raelynn melted into him, holding on to the belief that this moment, so ripe with promise, was perhaps the truest reflection of their artistic freedom. And in that suspended breath, the world swirled on outside. But here, inside the gallery, the art of transformation had only just begun. Scene 97. The Unwelcome Visitor. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm, amber glow over the manicured gardens of Val Island. Raelynn Barrett stood atop the villa's balcony, the salty breeze tuzzling her dark curls as she stared into the horizon. Each inhale was a blend of fresh sea and wild jasmine from the carefully arranged blossoms below. Despite the beauty, her heart raced, an unease gnawing deep within her gut. Just as she had begun to find her footing, a sharp voice broke the silence, pulling her from her thoughts. "Didn't take you for the type to get lost in daydreams." Braxton Vale remarked, leaning against the doorframe, a slight smirk playing on his lips. His presence was magnetic, the sunlight catching the angles of his face, but today somberness lingered behind his stormy gaze. Raelynn turned, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Just contemplating life's mysteries. You know, the usual. Braxton's smirk faded slightly, replaced by a furrowed brow. Right. And here I was thinking we'd find a way to celebrate your new exhibition. Ah, she said lightly, though her voice trembled. It's hard to celebrate when there are still ghosts lurking. Before he could respond, a commotion erupted from the front entrance. A cacophony of voices and the thud of heavy feet stifled the tranquility of the afternoon. Raylan's heart sank. Not again. Who invited the circus? Braxton muttered, pushing off the doorframe. Not sure we can escape the show today, Raelynn replied, a hint of sarcasm breaking through her tension as she led the way inside. As they approached, a figure emerged from the crowd, tall and imposing, with a presence that commanded attention. Wolfgang, the infamous art dealer from Raylan's past, stood in the center of a gathering, laughter echoing off the villa walls. His cologne was an overwhelming blend of cedar and leather, overpowering the fresh air, and his smile felt like a wolf's, charming yet predatory. Well, well, if it isn't my favorite curator, Wolfgang exclaimed, striding toward her, arms wide open for a hug. Wolfgang, Raelynn said, her tone cautious as she stepped back, avoiding the embrace. What brings you here? He feigned a wound look. Can't a man drop by to see how his favorite artist is faring? Braxton stood slightly behind Raelynn, tension palpable in the space between them. Uninvited guests are generally frowned upon, don't you think? He said, his voice a low growl, eyes narrowing. Wolfgang's gaze flicked to Braxton, amusement visible in his eyes. Ah, the formidable Mr. Vale. Heard much about you. Quite the figure in the art world, if only you shared Raylan's vision for artistry. His words dripped with mock cordiality. Braxton straightened, a fire igniting in his demeanor. And what does your version of sincerity look like, Wolfgang? Why, coming from you, I'd say it's dressed in jealousy, Wolfgang shot back, eyes glinting with mischief. Raelynn felt the weight of the room shift, tension thickening the air. She stepped between them, trying to diffuse the situation. This isn't the time for games. What do you want, Wolfgang? His smile shifted to a sly grin, his voice a conspiratorial whisper. I want to help you. The exhibition of your lifetime awaits, but you need proper connections, and I can provide those. Connections? Braxton interrupted, his voice cold. Connections built on lies? Wolfgang shrugged, unfazed. All business, Mr. Vale. You wouldn't understand the world of art and opportunity like I do. Raelynn felt her chest tighten. I don't need your help. I've worked too hard to let you dictate my future. But what if I told you there's an opportunity only I can offer, with buyers too exclusive for someone like you to approach? Wolfgang's gaze bore into her, his tone silky yet threatening. Braxton stepped closer, a protective aura radiating from him. We'll handle our own connections, thank you. You need to leave. Wolfgang chuckled softly, backing away with feigned innocence. Very well, but remember, Raelynn, I'll always be a call away. With a final lingering glance at Braxton, he turned to leave, the atmosphere still swirling with unarticulated tension. It's not over, Raelynn, he called over his shoulder. I'll be watching. As the door swung shut, Raelynn felt a wave of confusion wash over her. What was that about? Braxton's expression was stormy, a mix of anger and concern. This isn't just about art for him. It never was. You need to be careful. Raelynn clenched her jaw, her heart racing again, but this time with fury. I don't need you to protect me. I'm not here to play the knight, Braxton replied, tension easing slightly, though determination creased his brow. I'm here because this is bigger than both of us. With that, a silence hung between them, both contemplating the turbulent waters ahead. The future felt uncertain, but one thing was clear. Neither would allow their past to dictate their paths again. Then let's make it ours, Raelynn said, her voice firm. Braxton nodded, his gaze resolute. Together. As the sun dipped lower, uncertainty hadn't lifted, yet hope flickered amid the chaos. Scene 98. Reflections of the past. The sun limned the walls of the lavish sitting room in soft golden hues, painting the opulent decor in a glow that belied the struggles the occupants faced. Raelynn Barrett, her fingers deftly working through the delicate strands of a silk scarf, made her way across the plush carpet. Each step held an undercurrent of urgency, a silent battle within her. The fragrance of fresh coffee lingered in the air, mingling with the subtle notes of sandalwood, the aftermath of Braxton's presence. Braxton Vale leaned against the mantelpiece, his handsome figure silhouetted against the flicker of the fireplace. A frown creased his brow, deepening the shadows across his face. "Are you sure this is the right approach, Ray?" he asked, his voice low, barely piercing the stillness. Raelynn paused, her hands knotting the scarf as she turned to meet his gaze. "It's the only way forward," she replied, a tremor of doubt threaded through her voice. "We need to confront Wolfgang directly. No more half measures." The scarf felt heavy in her grip, a reminder of the past interwoven with her present. As if on cue, the door swung open to reveal Wolfgang, a charismatic yet volatile figure, his presence filling the room. "You two seem lost in your thoughts. Planning how to outsmart me?" he quipped, a sly smile dancing on his lips, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Raelynn straightened, the tension crackling between them as she met Wolfgang's gaze squarely. "Not outsmarting Wolfgang, rather stepping into the light. We need to discuss your role in all of this." "Oh, I love it when you take charge, dear Raelynn." His tone dripped with sarcasm, yet there was a glimmer of something, perhaps respect or even fear. "But do tread carefully. The past has a way of biting back." Braxton shifted, his protective instincts flaring. "Make no mistake, Wolfgang, this isn't a game. We're asking for accountability today." His voice rumbled like distant thunder, a stark contrast to the brittle laughter in the air. Raelynn stepped closer to Braxton, feeling the strength radiating from him. With a barely perceptible nod, they forged an unspoken alliance in that moment. Two souls intertwined, yet each wrestling with their pasts. The warmth of his body drew her in, the familiar scent of cedar and musk enveloping her like a safety blanket. She could feel the weight of history pressing in, demanding reckoning. "Ah, the dynamic duo so fierce, so noble," Wolfgang mocked, but there was an edge to his words. "Yet, how well do you truly know each other?" His gaze flickered between them, searching for cracks in their bond. Braxton's jaw clenched, a muscle twitching at the corner as he shot Raelynn a glance that spoke volumes. The unsaid words hung there, tension, fear, connection. "We've faced our demons together, Wolfgang. Don't underestimate us." Wolfgang stepped forward, arrogance spilling from his grin. "But have you faced what really binds you? What shadows still linger?" Raelynn felt her breath hitch as memories surged, a family torn apart, a legacy built on secrets. The air crackled with unspoken truths, swirling as heavily as the smoke from the fire behind them. Suddenly, the door burst open again, this time revealing Claudia, a friend with the sharp tongue of a witty comedian. "Am I late for the drama, or is it just getting started?" she chimed, her entrance like a breath of fresh air cutting through the stifling tension. "Perfect timing, as always," Braxton said, relief washing over his features. Claudia, with her buoyant spirit, often served as a reminder of the light amidst the shadows surrounding them. "Wolfgang, you old charmer," Claudia teased, throwing her arms theatrically around him. "Don't you have some guilt trips to hand out?" She winked at Raelynn, and in that moment, the weight felt lighter. Laughter echoed, dissipating the tentacles of dread, even if only for a moment. Raelynn glanced at Braxton, who was now smiling at Claudia's antics, his tension easing. "We need to be serious. We can't let him distract us." Her voice was firm, yet the warmth of Braxton's smile ignited something within her. "Whatever you say, boss lady," Claudia said, and with a cheeky grin, she gestured dramatically. "Let's take down the villain, shall we?" As laughter filled the room, it wove through the remnants of raw emotion, a fragile moment of unity. Raelynn caught Braxton's eye, something unspoken passing between them, a shared pulse of understanding that transcended words. In that fleeting instance, as the shadows loomed outside, both knew this was a fight for their lives. Scene 99. Strength together. The island hummed with the familiar sounds of a vibrant evening waves lapping against the shore, cicadas chirping in chorus, and the raucous laughter spilling from the villa where the elite mingled. Raelynn stood on the terrace, her eyes fixed on the horizon, where the sun dipped into the sea, igniting the sky in hues of gold and crimson. The chaos of the day, Wolfgang's unexpected return, fluttered like a wounded bird in her chest, a creature trapped between fear and hope. Braxton emerged behind her, the air shifting with his presence. She could feel the intensity radiating from him, a palpable energy that tugged at the tangled threads of her emotions. He leaned against the railing, his silhouette carved against the fiery backdrop, and the sight of him pulled her thoughts from the turmoil. "Do you think he suspects anything?" he asked, his voice low and unyielding. Raelynn turned, her heart racing under his sharp gaze. "Wolfgang? He's always been perceptive, Brax. But what does it matter?" She swallowed, a lump of trepidation lodged in her throat. "You don't trust me." Braxton pushed away from the railing, taking a step closer. The fragrance of salt and wild jasmine enveloped them, thickening the air. "It's not that, but you have a history with him, and it's too fragile with what we're building." "Fragile?" She scoffed, the bitterness spilling from her mouth. "You think what we have is fragile? Don't twist my words. We have something worth protecting, but I can't help feeling." "Feeling what?" Raelynn interjected, fire igniting in her chest. "That you're better than me? That I'm still somehow tied to a past I'm trying to escape?" His eyes narrowed, searching hers for a hint of weakness. "No," he replied, his voice a whisper now, steady yet filled with the weight of their argument. "But I see you running from truths that could tear us apart. I want to face these things together." "I don't want you to carry my burdens. You don't know what it's like," she snapped. For a moment, silence wrapped around them, thick as the tropical night. Raelynn felt raw, exposed, like the wind had stripped away her defenses, leaving her vulnerable in the cooling air. "What's it like?" Braxton asked, his tone softening, tilting his head as if trying to read the turmoil dancing in her eyes. "Tell me." She hesitated, biting her lip, an unconscious, habitual gesture, and folded her arms tightly over her chest as if she could barricade herself from the truth. "It's exhausting, Braxton. I've spent years trying to prove I'm more than my family's mistakes, trying to be someone different, and now—" Her voice trembled, the cracks revealing the depth of her fatigue. "Raelynn, you are more than them. You're redefining who you want to be." He stepped closer, the warmth of his body radiating reassurance. "But pushing me away won't help you. I'm not asking you to shoulder this alone." In that moment, an unexpected vulnerability flickered across his features, beneath the surface of his carefully constructed stoicism. Raylan's defenses crumbled, and she felt the raw honesty pull her toward him. "I don't want to lose you," she murmured, her heart laid bare, as bright and vulnerable as the first light of dawn. "You won't." Braxton reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "We'll face this together. No more secrets, but we have to start by trusting each other." The tension hung between them, electric and tenuous, until she nodded, her resolve hardening. "Together." Just then, the booming laughter of Wolfgang drifted from the crowd below, his voice flashing like a warning siren. Raelynn shot a glance toward the source, panic flickering in her eyes. Braxton grasped her hands, grounding her. "We've got this. Whatever comes next, we'll be stronger." As Wolfgang's silhouette cut through the throng, Raelynn felt the familiar knot of anxiety lock into place within her gut. She inhaled deeply, holding on to Braxton's gaze, the connection grounding her as the night loomed with uncertainty. "Let's show him what we've built." "Yes." Braxton squeezed her hands, determination surging between them like a lifeline thrown in treacherous waters. Together, they stepped back into the fray, hearts aligned, ready to confront whatever storm awaited them. Scene 100. Art as a catalyst. The expansive gallery opened to the public, where vibrant canvases hung like whispers of a conversation, each brushstroke imbued with stories of resilience. Sunlight filtered through the tall glass windows, accentuating the warmth of ochre and deep emerald hues. Raelynn Barrett stood at the gallery's entrance, her heart pounding, a symphony of excitement and anxiety. The walls vibrated with whispers, footsteps echoing softly on polished wood, mixing with the scent of fresh blooms arranged in elegant vases. Beside her, Braxton Vale adjusted his cuffs, the action deliberate, almost a ritual. His gaze swept the room, protective yet inviting. There was a glimmer of pride in his eyes, the kind that made Raylan's stomach flutter. He leaned closer, reducing the distance between them to a mere inhale. "You did this, Raelynn. All of this," he said, his voice low and earnest. "Did I?" Raelynn replied, glancing at the vibrant artwork surrounding them. Each piece portrayed the struggle and beauty of humanity, mirroring her own tumultuous journey. She sighed, allowing herself a moment to soak in his admiration. Or did we? There's no we without you making it happen. You're the spark. Braxton's sincerity melted away her lingering doubts, but it also ignited the fear she had of being too much, a fear sharpened by her past. As the first guest drifted in, Raelynn offered a beaming smile to the group, feeling the weight of their expectations. Among them was a distinguished critic, Eleanor Price, whose pen could elevate or decimate an artist's career with a flick of her wrist. Raylan's pulse quickened at the sight of her, the room suddenly teeming with the gravity of opportunity and peril. "Well, there's the artist herself," Eleanor exclaimed, her voice slicing through the murmurs. "Raelynn, darling, you've outdone yourself." "Thank you so much, Eleanor," Raelynn said, summoning every ounce of her poise. "I wanted to showcase something true, something that speaks to our shared struggles. And the desire to rise above them," Braxton interjected smoothly, stepping in as a buffer to Raylan's self-doubt. He flashed Eleanor a confident smile. "It seems she's quite good at turning pain into beauty, don't you think?" "Quite," Eleanor replied, intrigued. "But art is as much about the artist as it is about the audience. Raelynn, dear, what will they see when they look at your work?" In that moment, the gallery fell into an expectant hush. Raelynn felt the weight of every eye on her, each expectation tinged with skepticism. "They'll see resilience," she answered slowly, "the strength to transform adversity into something beautiful." Eleanor tilted her head, assessing Raylan's resolve. Just then, a loud crash rang out, jarring everyone. A display of glass sculptures shattered to the floor, their delicate shards sparkling ominously under the lights. Gasps erupted, conversations halted. "Who did that?" someone shouted, frustration palpable in the air. "Calm down, it's just some glass." An amused voice chimed from the corner, a friend of Braxton's, Jordan, unable to resist the lure of drama. "I didn't get an invite, so I'm crashing the party. I called dibs on helping clean." The tension began to dissolve, laughter spilling over the initial shock like a joyful balm. "Jordan, you are a menace," Braxton said, shaking his head, unable to suppress a smile. The gallery buzzed anew, laughter mixing with the sweetness of the flower bouquets. Yet Raelynn felt the stirrings of unease clawing at her confidence. She exchanged a glance with Braxton, questions swirling between them like the flickering shadows in the room. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly, tilting his head so only she could hear. It is a lot, isn't it? All of this," she murmured, gesturing around them, her voice a breath. "It's one thing to dream about it, and another to stand here under this spotlight." Braxton stepped closer, his expression softening. "You're not alone in this," he reminded her, his tone weighing heavily on the remnants of her insecurity. "No matter what you're up against, I'm right here." "But what if I fail? What if I—" "Don't," a voice interrupted, breaking through the air. It was Kara, Raylan's longtime friend, her vibrant personality pulling the room back to life. "Why would you even entertain that thought when you have this masterpiece radiating with your essence?" As laughter returned, the sense of camaraderie grew. The glass shards on the floor became a metaphor for vulnerability, sharp, but also reflecting the light. Raelynn smiled, her heart a little lighter. "Thank you, Kara." Amidst the lingering nervous energy, Braxton took her hand, fingers entwining with comforting firmness. "Let's let the world see you, Raelynn. The real you, the one who isn't afraid to shine." Her breath caught in her throat as they locked eyes, the unspoken intensity hanging in the air like the anticipation of a first kiss, as if all the chaos around them had melted into a single, profound moment of connection. Scene 101. Threads of Insecurity. The late afternoon sun cut through the expansive windows of the estate, bathing the room in a golden glow that danced on the polished mahogany tables and fine art pieces, carefully curated by Raelynn Barrett. She stood at a long table, a lively green paintbrush in hand, applying the finishing touches to a vibrant abstract painting meant for the upcoming gala. The strokes felt chaotic yet purposeful, mirroring the tempest of emotions swirling within her as she worked. Outside, the ocean waves crashed against the rocky shore, each slap against the rocks echoing like the thumping of her heart. It was beautiful until the dark clouds rolled in, casting ominous shadows through the glass, making the atmosphere feel heavier, electric with potential chaos. She paused, staring out at the storm brewing on the horizon, the wind picking up, howling as if it were trying to drown out the thoughts crowding her mind. "Looks like your masterpiece is about to get overshadowed," teased Mariana, Raelynn's trusted assistant, leaning against the doorframe. Mariana was the embodiment of mischief, her curly hair bouncing with every little laugh. "Maybe we should start planning for an indoor event instead of outside." Raelynn shot her a playful glare, forcing a smile though her heart ached with unwelcome insecurities. "I'm beginning to think this island is trying to stress test my sanity right before the gala." "Stress test, or test your painting skills." Mariana stepped inside, letting herself rummage through the collection of glittering evening dresses draped along the back of the chair. "Are you okay? You seem off." "I'm fine." Raylan's voice was firmer than she felt, but Mariana wasn't so easily fooled. As Raelynn wrestled with her emotions, Braxton Vale appeared at the doorway, his presence commanding yet casual. He held a glass of chilled lemonade, condensation dripping down its thin walls like beads of sweat, and his eyes, dark and penetrating, locked onto her with intensity. "You look like you're slaying dragons," he mused, a smirk curling on his lips as he stepped further into the room. "More like sketching them," Raelynn replied, feeling a warmth spread through her. He always knew how to diffuse her worries with a simple remark. "Why don't you take a break? Let me show you how to actually paint." He gestured towards the canvas with an exaggerated flourish. "Oh, please. As if a master of strategy like you could understand the complexities of expressionism," Raelynn quipped, rolling her eyes. "Oh, I'm an expert at expressing myself, believe me," he countered with a mischievous glint in his eye. The way their banter flowed through the room was unmistakably magnetic, sparking unconscious connections buried deep in Raylan's heart. But just behind her playful exterior, Raelynn felt herself retreating, small insecurities bubbling just beneath the surface. The island, with its wealth and glamour, sometimes felt like a gilded cage. What had she ever contributed? Was she still the high-achieving curator, or just a shadow gliding along Braxton's ambitious path? Raelynn tried to shake off her doubt, but the brewing storm outside mirrored her turbulent thoughts. "Come on, let's put together a plan," Braxton said, his voice suddenly dropping in pitch, shifting the mood from playful to serious. "We need to get this exhibition back on track. The gallery is counting on this." Distant laughter drew their attention as the other guests mingled just next door, half the island's elite party spilling into the garden below. The jubilant air, filled with frivolity, erupted with shouts and cheers, igniting that underlying envy within her of being part of a circle that seemed so effortlessly inclusive. Raelynn exhaled deeply, staring at the swirling watercolors. "What if I don't know? What if they find out about my family? Shouldn't I?" "Raelynn, you're as brilliant as the art you curate," Braxton interrupted, stepping closer to her, his voice steady, although the storm was seething outside. "You define your path. They don't define you. Easy for you to say when your name carries weight." The words slipped out, sharp and unintentional, echoing in the otherwise hushed room. She shot him an apologetic glance. "I didn't mean." "It's okay," Braxton replied, the storm outside matching the intensity of his gaze. "But you need to trust yourself. You're more than your past, you're a force." Raelynn took a step closer, feeling the heat of their connection amidst the brewing storm, her doubt weighed down by the gravity of his certainty. The shadows shifted in the room, clouds thickening with each moment. "Are you sure?" she asked, vulnerability lacing her tone as she reached for Braxton's hand, feeling both emboldened and terrified. "What I'm sure of is my desire for you," he murmured, his breath barely grazing her lips. The moment felt suspended in time, poised between the gale outside and the warmth radiating between them. In that charged thickness filled with unyielding uncertainty, she could either embrace the storm or take solace in the eye of it. Scene 102, a walk down memory lane. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the sprawling grounds of Silver Tide Gallery's exterior, softening the sharp lines of its modern architecture. The salty breeze teased Raylan's loose strands of hair, which danced around her shoulders, carrying with it the familiar scent of ocean and impending twilight. She stepped through the flowered archway, memories flooding back like waves crashing onto the shore. "This place feels like a dream," Raelynn whispered, her voice barely rising above the hum of insects and distant laughter from a party gathering on the other side of the island. Her eyes searched the vibrant landscape, planted firmly in nostalgia. Braxton rounded the corner, his presence commanding as always, yet softened by the warmth of the day. He matched her gaze, his dark eyes filled with an unspoken understanding. "Or a homecoming," he replied, his voice smooth like warm honey, drawing her deeper into the moment. Raelynn shivered involuntarily, a mixture of exhilaration and trepidation coursing through her. "Isn't it funny? A year ago, I was just some art student with grand aspirations. Now, well, here we are." She motioned to the gallery, but the significance of their journey was more than just the art. It was the life they shared. "More than just here," Braxton said, moving closer. "You turned this place inside out. You found the beauty that was waiting." He reached for her hand, his touch gentle yet firm. Raelynn felt a spark, a magnetic warmth that drew her in even further. As they walked along the cobblestone path lined with swaying willows, the corners of Braxton's mouth curled into a teasing smile. "Do you remember the first show you curated? You were a bundle of nerves." Raelynn laughed, a free sound that lit up the twilight. "I wanted to hide. You kept insisting I should give that speech. I nearly fainted." "Yet you dazzled them," he replied, his tone infused with reverence. "I stood in the back, watching you own that room. You were electric." Caught off guard, Raelynn felt heat rise to her cheeks. "I was just trying not to trip over my words." "Or trip over your own ambition," Braxton countered smoothly. "That was the beginning, Raelynn. It opened up so much for both of us." But as her heart beat steadily, shadows loomed in her mind, the past she had hoped to outrun. She hesitated, suddenly vulnerable. "Yes, the beginning. But what if it's all fading?" Braxton paused, his brow furrowing. "What do you mean? You're not fading. You're lighting up the world, the people around you. You've crafted a legacy." Raelynn bit her lip, grappling with her own insecurities, fraught with the weight of secrets yet to be uncovered. "Legacy built on borrowed light can extinguish too, Braxton." He interrupted her, stepping in closer, the space between them charged. "No more self-doubt. Not after everything we've fought through." His voice was steady, the conviction palpable. "And what if that fight led me to you? I don't want to lose." Raylan's breath hitched as his gaze deepened, the walls between them beginning to crumble. Braxton took the final step, closing the distance. "You won't, not if you choose to stay with me. The past, it doesn't define us." He hovered inches from her, their breaths mingling, both vulnerable yet formidable. Raelynn looked up into his unwavering gaze, feeling as if he could peer right through her guarded heart. "You make that sound easy." His fingers brushed her arm, a fleeting caress that sent shivers along her spine, igniting a longing she had kept at bay. "It's not easy, but it's real, and sometimes we have to take that leap, even when it feels like the ground is not there." With the evening air thickening around them, weighty with unspoken truths and fresh starts, Braxton leaned down, his breath feathering against her skin. "Trust me," he murmured, as if daring her to embrace the connection lingering over them like the shadows of the setting sun. "Trust," Raelynn echoed, grappling with the intensity of the moment. Then, with a shared knowledge of both the beauty and chaos woven through their stories, they reached for each other, a leap, a promise, a beginning unrestrained by the past. The air crackled as they bridged the distance, and in that split second, everything seemed possible. Scene 103. Emotional turbulence. The oppressive humidity wrapped around the exclusive island like a suffocating blanket, the dark clouds adding weight to the air. As thunder rumbled in the distance, Raelynn Barrett stood in front of the expansive gallery window, watching raindrops race down the glass. The sound of the downpour drumming against the roof mirrored the tumult in her heart. Just days had passed since they cleared the threat to their lives, yet shadows of the past lurked just beyond the horizon. "Isn't it beautiful?" Braxton Vale stepped into the room, his voice a rich timbre that resonated with warmth. The radiance emanating from his presence illuminated even the darkest corners. He came to stand beside her, their shoulders nearly touching, the electricity between them palpable. Raelynn turned, her gaze momentarily flickering over his broad, confident frame before settling on the storm outside. Beautiful. Yes, but also ominous, like it's waiting to unleash something. She sighed, leaning against the cool glass, the chill contrasting with the heat pooling between them. Braxton chuckled softly, his eyes tracing the lines of tension on her face. When has a little turbulence ever stopped you? His tone was teasing, yet a layer of concern lingered beneath it. Raylan's heart skipped. The question pierced deeper than he knew, making her cheeks flush. It's easy to be brave when you're not afraid of what that turbulence might bring, she replied, forcing a smile, though the hint of vulnerability escaped in her voice. Maybe it's time to embrace the storm, Braxton suggested, moving even closer, their shoulders brushing, igniting a spark that sent heat wave through her. Is that your strategy for calming fears? Embrace chaos? Raelynn laughed, but the sound was brittle and hollow, the persistence of shadows in her past clawing in on her mind. No, it's a strategy for living fully. You can't let fear dictate your every move. He touched her arm, and the warmth of his hands spread through her like wildfire, igniting long-buried desires. You need to trust that whatever happens, you'll rise above it. Her breath caught as she met his gaze, and for a moment the world outside faded. Only the storm inside her remained. It's easy for you to say, "You're you." Braxton's expression shifted, seriousness anchoring his features. I've had my share of storms, Raelynn. Don't think for a second you carry this alone. He leaned in closer, their foreheads almost touching, the air crackling with unexpressed intimacy. Her heart raced, the moment shifting like the weather outside. She felt a tumult of emotions clash within fear, desire, vulnerability. What if the storm reveals something I'm not ready for? Raelynn whispered, barely audible over the roar of the rain. That's why I'm here to face it with you, he said steadily, his voice a soothing balm against the tempest of her worries. Just as he shifted his weight, the ceiling above them groaned, rattling the frames of the paintings that adorned the gallery walls, an echo of their uncertainty. Before Raelynn could respond, a loud crash sounded from behind them. An artwork had fallen from its perch, smashing against the wooden floors. Great, now the art is joining us in our drama, Braxton quipped, breaking the tension with humor that brimmed with sincerity. Raelynn laughed, a genuine burst that felt like sunlight breaking through dreary clouds. At least they're not throwing themselves into the chaos willingly. She stepped towards the mess, her pulse settling from its erratic march, suddenly grateful for the distraction. I'd say that's a first. For once, something in this place is as chaotic as our lives, he smiled, joining her at the wrecked sculpture. The sudden intimacy of teamwork felt electric, the connection shifting beneath the surface. Maybe chaos can be beautiful too, she said, glancing at him, their hands brushing as they cleared the debris. The tenderness of the touch sent a spark racing through her again, a sweet undercurrent of thrilling possibility. Yes, and it can also reveal what we truly feel, Braxton replied, leaning in with fervor. I feel alive with you. Their eyes locked, a storm brewing within each gaze, the air thick with unspoken words. Then let's navigate this storm together, Raelynn whispered, her heart racing at the invitation. Their hands lingered, both recognizing the treacherous climb they were spiraling toward, emotions swirling like the clouds outside. As the rain battered the island, it ushered in a new tempest far deeper than the one outside. Raelynn could sense the currents gathering strength, her heart echoing with the promise of what lay ahead. Scene 104, Navigating Chaos. The sun hung low over the ocean, casting flickering shadows through the glass walls of Raelynn Barrett's gallery. Outside, the world of azure waves and swaying palm trees pulsed with the rhythm of the exclusive island, but inside, the air thickened with tension. Are you really going to let him get away with that? Solemn, Raylan's trusted assistant, leaned against the polished mahogany desk, arms crossed, his voice low and pointed. The slight twitch in his jaw revealed his agitation. Raelynn glanced at the chaotic mess of canvases stacked against the wall, their vibrant colors clashing together like the emotions churning inside her. I'm not letting anyone get away with anything, Salim, she said defiantly, her nails digging into the tabletop. I just need to figure out how to approach this. Approach? He's practically declared war on your exhibition. Salim's eyes widened with disbelief. Rafe Lawrence doesn't play fair. You know that. Raylan's heart hammered. not just from the threat of a rival who aimed to sabotage her reputation, but from the deeper memories tied to that name. Rafe, a name that unspooled a narrative of obsession, deception, and unreciprocated affection in her past. I have to confront him, Raelynn revealed, her voice breaking with uncharacteristic vulnerability, as if revealing a secret she had tucked away too long. If I don't, he'll think I'm weak. Salim pushed off the desk and stepped closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Weakness isn't in you, Ray. But Rafe, he has his sights set on more than just your gallery. At that moment, a soft knock echoed from the entrance, momentarily pulling their attention away from the brewing storm. Lila, the gallery's newest intern, poked her head in, her curly hair bouncing like spring's first bloom. Sorry to interrupt. The drinks for tonight's preview are here, and, Braxton Vale is waiting at the door. A rush of energy coursed through the gallery. Braxton. Just the mention of his name sent small shivers dancing along Raylan's spine. His presence was magnetic, both soothing and stormy, much like the ocean beyond the walls. Perfect timing, Raelynn murmured, her gaze drifting to the entrance, where Braxton stood, shoulders broad, holding the tension of the moment merely with his presence. You know what to do, Lila. Set everything up, please. Lila nodded enthusiastically and left the door ajar, allowing the sound of waves to filter in, mingling with Raelyn's apprehension. Braxton glided into the room, his dark eyes scanning the cluttered space like a hawk seeking its target. Is it a war zone in here, or just another typical afternoon? He quipped, an amused grin breaking the tension crystallizing in Raelyn's mind. More like a siege, Salim replied, shrugging with exaggerated nonchalance as he straightened his tie. One exhibition away from full annihilation. Braxton threw back his head and laughed, a sound that resonated warmly against the stark environment.